Ilia Topuria may be a generational talent. He's KO'd Volkanovski, Max Holloway, and now Charles Oliveira back to back to back. And in this video, I'm going to be breaking down why I believe that he surpassed Khabib Nurmagomedov in the GOAT conversation, in the legacy conversation, at lightweight, just in general in the UFC. And overall, as a fighter, I think he's accomplished more than Khabib has in his short amount of time in the UFC. And in the little amount of time we've seen him in a championship setting, he's shown the highest level of fighting. He has finished the best fighters in the world, and he's showed why he is potentially a future GOAT of the UFC, potentially one of the best to ever do it. We're going to get into it, boys. You know, a lot of people have been saying this on Instagram, on TikTok, on all sorts of stuff, on all sorts of social medias. Is Khabib still higher than Ilia Topuria on the GOAT conversation? And I'm here to say he's not, man. I don't care if you're a Khabib lover. You know, I don't care if you hate Ilia Topuria. I personally have a bit of a vendetta against Ilia Topuria. We know this. I'm a huge fan of Charles Oliveira. So obviously I'm not the biggest fan of Ilia Topuria, especially after what he's done. But I do have to respect him and respect what he's doing and respect his skills and how he goes out and how he finishes these fights, man. So I do think he's better than Khabib Nurmagomedov. Obviously, Khabib ended his career early on, but people are going to compare the records, 29-0 compared to 17-0. They're going to compare that record. They're going to be like, well, you know, Khabib's got 12 more victories than Ilia Topuria, is still staying undefeated. But if you check Khabib's record, even at 15-0, he was fighting guys that were 1-1, fighting guys that were very low-level competition before he got into the UFC. Even when he was in the UFC, he kind of got given easy fights, easy matchups. And, you know, one of his toughest tests was Edson Barboza. He did break him down. He did break Justin Gaethje, obviously, in his final fight. He broke Dustin Poirier. He broke a lot of great fighters. Conor McGregor as well. But it was a matter of skill for skill. I don't think Khabib Nurmagomedov is more skilled than Ilia Topuria. I think Ilia Topuria is the most skilled guy in the UFC. I hate to admit it. I really hate to admit it. And this is not me glazing Ilia Topuria. This is not what this video is. I'm not bouncing on it. All right, boys, I am not bouncing on it. I am just stating facts at this point that we have to admit as UFC fans. We have to admit as MMA fans. Ilia Topuria is he's just too good. He's too fucking good, okay? I really want to see Islam versus Ilia Topuria. We need to see this fight because Islam is the closest thing we've got to Khabib. He's the closest thing we'll ever get to Khabib. Personally, I think he's above Khabib in the GOAT conversation as well. Islam has done so many things. Islam Makhachev was pound for pound number one. Now that place has been taken by Ilia Topuria, but he was pound for pound number one. He's beat Dustin Poirier just like just like Khabib beat Dustin. He subbed Dustin Poirier. He subbed Charles Oliveira, finished Charles even before Ilia Topuria finished Charles. He finished Volkanovski before Topuria finished Charles. Now, people can argue that, you know, Topuria got the leftovers of Volkanovski and Charles Oliveira, but these guys were still at the highest level, obviously on the decline in their careers, but the way that Ilia finished them was just so violent, so brutal, that you have to respect it, and you have to think he is one of the most dominant fighters in the world, and in the UFC, the most dominant fighter ever. Statistically wise, when you search it up, when you go on ChatGPT, search it up, is Khabib Nurmagomedov. He lost the least amount of rounds ever in mixed martial arts, ever in the UFC. And sure, Ilia's lost more rounds, but the dominance from Ilia Topuria is very well matched to Khabib Nurmagomedov's. And I do believe that the competition that Ilia Topuria is fighting in his career, so far, these 3 fights in a row, have just outweighed Khabib's entire career. Not to mention that Ilia took the belt at featherweight, moved up to lightweight, and took it with ease. If he goes ahead and he moves up to welterweight and fights Islam Makhachev, and he beats Islam Makhachev, he will be the GOAT of the UFC by far, without a doubt. There's never been a fighter to get 3 belts in 3 different weight classes. It would be unseen, unheard of. And already at this point in his career, I think Ilia, way younger than when Khabib was in his prime and when he was running through these guys. Ilia's young. He's hungry. He's fast. He's killing these just generational legends, these legends of the sport with ease. He's hunting them down, and he's like aura maxing. I'm not going to lie. This dude's absolutely aura maxing, and I hate it. I hate it, but I love it at the same time. I just hope he doesn't go after another legend, but we're going to see what happens with Islam. and Ilia Topuria. See if that matchup gets made, because that is a matchup where we might be able to somewhat compare what it would have been like if we had prime Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Ilia Topuria. And when I look at that matchup, I used to think, Khabib would smother him. He would take him to the ground. He'd smother him. He'd choke him out. But looking at that matchup now, after what Ilia's done, after who he's beat, after how he's beat them, it is a question. There is a question mark of how close that fight would have been if you put both these guys in their prime together in the octagon. It would be a bit questionable. Now, I would still side with Khabib, but I do think Ilia is getting to that point, and if he fights Islam and beats Islam, he will be by far above Islam Makhachev in the GOAT conversation, above Khabib Nurmagomedov. I'm not even. How am I butchering Khabib's name? Khabib Nurmagomedov in the GOAT conversation. It won't even be close. If he takes those 3 belts, or if he beats Islam and finishes Islam, just insane. It would be an insane amount of aura. It would be an insane story in the UFC. I had to make this video because I'm looking at Ilia's record. I'm looking at the way Ilia's finishing these guys, the way Ilia's trying to play out his career, who he wants to fight next, what he wants to do. Now we're looking at lightweight competition, and we're looking at this guy Ilia at the top, and people are like, who's going to beat him? Nobody believes Sarukian's going to beat him. Barely anybody believes Sarukian's going to beat him. Nobody believes Justin Gaethje's going to beat him. Barely anybody believes Paddy's going to beat him, okay? And that's the top competition at lightweight. Those are the challengers at lightweight. If Ilia runs through Justin Gaethje, beats Arman Sarukian confidently and convincingly, and beats Paddy Pimblett, I mean, there's just not going to be any questions. He moves up to welterweight. He fights for that belt no matter what, and if Islam runs even more from Ilia, it's just going to put an absolute stamp on Ilia's aura, on his GOAT status. It's going to put a stamp on it. After Ilia finished Charles the way that he did, there was a tweet put out by Islam Makhachev that he said he talked to Khabib, and Khabib said, you're not going to fight Ilia. You're not going to risk it. And it's clear that team, Khabib's team, is scared of Ilia Topuria. They're scared of what he could do and ruin Islam's legacy. So I understand why Islam moved up. It was to get that second belt, but he's definitely a little bit scared of that fight with Ilia. So we got to see that matchup one day. But I do believe that Ilia's on his way to GOAT status. I do believe he's above Khabib in the GOAT status already. I think he's already a legend. I think he's already beat enough legends to just take that spot, take that number 1 spot. He's pound for pound number 1. Fair enough. Credit to him. He should be. And we're going to see what happens, man. But if you guys enjoyed the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think Khabib is over Ilia Topuria in the GOAT conversation, or do you think Ilia has just surpassed him? But without a further ado, I will catch you boys in the next one. See you.